Welcome to Touchdown Town on BetsTV. I'm Gilles Gallant with FTN Bets and BetsTV. It's week 10. We're here every Sunday morning helping you to make top quality decisions for your touchdown prop bets. And I want to welcome in my co-host Brenden Deeg of National Football Post. We've both been making picks for pretty much every primetime game. And of course, we've done now 9 shows. This is our 10th show for Touchdown Town. Very interesting first half, Brenden. I figured with the first half being under our belts, it'd be a good time to remind people kind of where we're at after the first half of the season for touchdown bets, winning percentages, records, and profits gained so far. So for myself, I'm hitting 27.4% of my bets. That's 37 wins, 98 losses, but I'm up 13.3 units for the year. So I think that's the one thing people need to remember is that with these touchdown score bets, especially with the fact that I've only picked now eight players under plus 200, you're not going to win all the time. You're going to be hitting more like a baseball player, like 3 out of 10, mostly for the most part. So that's where I'm at for the first half of the year. Brenden, can you let the people know at home what your record is through the first half of the year picking touchdown scores?
Yep, same as you. So if you were to follow every single one of my picks and just place 1 unit on those picks, you would be up 14.05 units. Ooh. I have 35 wins, 91 losses. So very similar record as you, very similar unit count. But man, this has been a great start. Like if you just followed all of our picks, you would be up money.
Yeah, I think, I agree. I echo that sentiment. I kind of look at it this way, that if you had told me at the beginning of the season that at the halfway point of the year, you would be up 13.3 units on the year, just kind of betting each primetime game and doing the same structure that I was normally doing in previous seasons, I'd take that in a heartbeat. 13.3 units of profit. Not a lot of people could say they're at the halfway point of the year. Nope. So
especially with anytime score picks, I don't think there's anyone close.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who are taking the 10-to-1s all the time, and that's all they do. And I'm not saying that you can't make profit that way. It's just difficult. It's harder to find those nuggets because those guys just aren't on the field as often.
I was just trying to hype us up.
Well, keep doing it. Keep doing it. I love it. Make sure to let everybody in Philadelphia know that we're bringing the heat. So before we get started with our picks, I just want to remind everybody to check out my weekly shows Tuesdays on BetsTV. It is called Dog Day Afternoon. It's at 2 p.m. Eastern. It airs live. This past week, I had Joe Fan, who is the co-host of the Bet to Win podcast and the brand ambassador to WinBet. He was awesome. Look forward to chatting with him every chance I get. So, Brenden, I think the people are tired of hearing about us bragging about our wins and promoting other shows. Let's get started with the picks. I'm going to get us started here. I got my first bet of the week. I locked this in as soon as I saw the odds. This is going to be for a New Orleans Saints player. It's going to be Taysom Hill. Anytime touchdown at plus 330. The odds are available at PointsBet. I think we're being a little over the top here with how hindered this offense is going to be, because I think Trevor Siemian is still going to be able to move the ball on this Titans secondary that has been just getting still diced by wide receivers all year. So it's not like the Saints will just be completely overmatched. Now, obviously there is no Kamara, but I do think that this could still play to our benefit, because I think they're going to use Taysom Hill kind of more in that role of the pass catching back. Could see a lot more goal line work over Ingram. And I like to just carefully remind everybody that Taysom Hill does have 9 red zone touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. And I think another problem too, when we do handicap touchdown score bets, is sometimes we get a little caught up and paralyzed in the stats, because I think stats are important, but I don't think they should be the only guideline. And here's the example that I'll bring up. The Saints defense, a run defense, is notoriously known as a strong run defense. You don't generally bet on running backs against them, for example, or even quarterbacks to rush for touchdowns against them. They have 27 carries allowed, 127 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown allowed to a quarterback. That's one of the best in the NFL. Now, let's just use another team in the NFL that probably isn't viewed as highly regarded defensively. That's the New York Giants. The New York Giants have allowed 27 carries to opposing quarterbacks, 103 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. And you look at both of them and think, wow, those 2 units are doing very well against quarterbacks. Well, those 2 touchdowns that the Giants allowed, they were both to Taysom Hill. So what I'm saying is that sometimes let's not get too caught up in the stats, and let's make sure that we're taking the best player available at the best odds. And Taysom Hill at plus 300 is a great opportunity, in my opinion, especially with no Kamara.
I'm looking for you to break the Taysom Hill curse this year because I am 0-2 with them. When I took him, I was at a plus 250 odds. These are up at you got him at plus 330. And the big key here is Alvin Kamara is not playing. So my guess is he's going to be maybe RB2, maybe behind Mark Ingram in the red zone. He'll be the second option there. So at those odds, it was a steal.
Absolutely. So, all right, that's my first pick of the week. It is Taysom Hill at plus 330 from PointsBet. Brenden, let's see your first pick of week 10.
All right, we are going back to a friendly face on Touchdown Time. We're going to Allen Lazard plus 340 at FanDuel. Look, the big thing here is these odds are disrespectful. You can see it right there on the graphic. I can't believe he's up in the plus 300 range. When I got him the last time I hit him, I think he was plus 260. So the odds are even better this time. He has scored a touchdown in 3 straight games. So that doesn't match the odds. And look, he's getting snaps. He's played over 80% of the snaps in his last 4 games. He is a huge part of this offense because he's huge in the run game as well because they like to block. He's a good blocker. So any of those stretch runs with Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, he's a big component of that. And I just think him and Rodgers have a good connection. They seem to have kind of grown this year together. He's a big body guy, so he's a guy that you look for in the red zone. The odds just didn't match the odds didn't match the snap count. The odds didn't match the production. So to me, this was a great bet.
And I think the one thing that I would add to that too is we deciphered this and looked through that. Allen Lazard, like the debate was always between do we take Lazard or we take Valdes-Scantling? And even though Valdes-Scantling has gotten a little bit more targets and receptions when they were both on the field together, Lazard was playing more snaps every game. And it's been like that pretty much since the halfway point of last year. So at over plus 300, I was just like, whoa, okay, take that immediately because you're getting Rodgers back. Seattle's pass defense isn't exactly like world beaters.
Nope.
I think they're going to.
I think they're 28th in passing yards allowed this year.
Yeah, and I think they're going to try to focus on neutralizing Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones. Obviously, that's easier said than done. But I think Lazard over plus 300 is a steal.
Yep.
All right, so those are our first picks. I'm going to go with the second pick here now, and it is going to be a tight end for the Denver Broncos. It is Noah Fant. I got him at plus 275 at Bet365, and he's fresh off the COVID list. And Brenden, cover your ears on this one because Philly has been hot garbage versus tight ends this year, allowing a league worst 8 touchdowns to the tight end position, and they're also dead last in receptions to the position. One of the things I like too about Fant is the accuracy of Teddy Bridgewater as well, because he's one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. Obviously, he had that 3 interception game against the Raiders, but he doesn't really throw a lot of picks, just around 70% of completion percentage. And he looks for Noah Fant often because Fant leads the team in red zone targets, red zone touchdowns, and he also scored 2 of his 3 touchdowns this year at home. So I love Noah Fant to score today, getting him at plus 275 at Bet365. I had to grab it immediately.
I think the Eagles will have led 8 touchdowns to tight ends. I think the next team is 6. So that's 2 more than the next team. Yeah, Eagles linebackers and safeties. It's been a huge problem all year with that defense. I like this pick a lot. Noah Fant he's one of the most underrated young players in the league. I think he's going to have a big day. I like this pick a lot, Jill.
And I think there could be some value on Big Al, too. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, but Albert Aku, I'll just leave it at that. But
is that the Broncos backup tight end?
Yeah, well, number 1, number 2, he's a good blocking tight end. I think just there is value on him as well, but to the fact that I could get Fant at 275 and then he's around plus 350 when one is clearly the better pass-catching tight end, I'm going to take that one instead. So, yeah, that's my second pick of the week. Brenden, let's hear your second pick of week 10.
Okay, so it's not ideal picking a Detroit Lion on this show, but I'm going to rock with it, and I have some reasoning why. I'm going with Khalif Raymond plus 360. He is the Detroit Lions' number 1 target on the outside. Now, look, again, like I said, it's not ideal picking a Lion, but I think there's something to this one. Khalif Raymond has been the 3rd best wide receiver against man coverage this year. If you can believe it, it's a fact. It's actually true. I couldn't believe it either. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have played the 5th highest rate of man coverage in the NFL this year. That is a huge part of their defense. So I think this is a good look. When you can get a number 1 target at these odds, I think you got to take the shot. And and I took this pick before Ben Roethlisberger went on the COVID list, so I can't really use it too much here. But I think it just adds some juice to this pick because I think the offense of the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to be off the field more now. I don't think Mason Rudolph's just going to be driving down the field on the lines. So I think the Detroit Lions will have more opportunities to score. I think you're on this train as well. Detroit Lions money line. Did they get their first win of the year today? So I'm on Lions money line and Clay Freeman plus 360. I think this is a good look.
Yeah, I took them at plus 300, and immediately my comments were just flooded of like, actually, Mason Rudolph will actually be better for this offense than Ben.
No.
Look, I think Ben is washed and cooked just as much as others, but that doesn't mean that Rudolph is ready to go. Like I've seen enough of him to know what that like the ceiling and how low it is with a Rudolph at quarterback. So yeah, I did get the Lions money line at plus 300. It's around plus 200 right now, and for that exact reason, because I think we're going to see the Lions offense a lot more on the field. So those are our first two picks through. Let's get down to my third pick of week 10. Been picked on the show before. You've hit him. It's Freddie Swain. Yep. Anytime touchdown at plus 500 for the Seahawks. Got these odds at FanDuel. And to give a little bit of background, the wide receiver 3 on the Seahawks, for me as a touchdown scoring bettor, has always been my kryptonite. It used to be David Moore in this role, and you could always get him in the plus 400, plus 500 range. And now he's no longer on the squad. So Freddie Swain kind of takes over that role. But one of the things that I've loved with him so far is that even as good as Tyler Lockett has been and banged up as well, but Freddie Swain is second on the team in red zone targets and still plays over 70% of the snaps, especially in the 3 wide receiver sets. And I think the Packers, even though they have played fairly well against the Chiefs and Cardinals in their past 2 games, I think they're still beaten down in the secondary. I'm not buying what we saw in those 2 games. Like, I think that Russell Wilson coming back is going to be a huge lift, especially because when you look at Swain's numbers in the 4 games that Wilson played this year, 9 catches, 2 touchdowns. And I think at plus 500, it's a tough bet to swallow because you see how much DK Metcalf, like how much of a target share he takes up on that team. But Freddie Swain hasn't been below plus 350 all year. And now you're going to be playing against the Packers, who are still shorthanded, even though they have been playing above their heads. I'm going to take a stab on this every time.
No, this is a good swing to take. I hit him week 4. I think he was plus 380. So you're getting even better odds. And yeah, Russell Wilson seems to like him. They seem to kind of have a connection, especially in the red zone. That third wide receiver spot on the Seahawks has kind of been just kind of a turnover, and hasn't been a lot of guys taking over, and it'll be good if Freddie Swain can kind of take that spot. But yeah, plus 500, I thought this was a good bet.
So, Brenden, what is your third pick of week 10?
All right, so my third one, I absolutely love this pick. It was the first pick that I locked in this week. I'm going with David Njoku plus 480 at FanDuel against the New England Patriots. He is officially tight end 1 on this Cleveland Browns team. That Austin Hooper contract is looking bad, worse and worse by the day. He played 74% of the snaps last week. He's having a great year, very underrated player. There's a stat that I like called yards per route run when I kind of dive into receivers and tight ends and running backs and just how many routes are you running and how many yards are you getting for every route you run. It's just like kind of an efficiency production stat, more of an analytics stat. David Njoku is first in the NFL in tight ends and yards per route run. So when he's on the field, he is productive. He scored a touchdown last week. He's a big-bodied red zone target. I think Baker Mayfield is going to start using him more now that Odell's out. At plus 480, this was like an automatic bet. I absolutely love this pick.
He is constantly above plus 400. He's been in this offense now for about 3 years, and he's always, whether it be a garbage touchdown, sometimes it could just be Austin Hooper is double covered, and they're just not going to throw the ball, and he'll just catch this random touchdown out of nowhere. And he is one of those guys that, like, I have this group of dudes that I bet with every week where we're betting touchdown scorers and whatever else, like people that I have been betting with for, years. And David Njoku, like just like I was saying that Freddie Swain, the wide receiver 3 on Seattle, is my kryptonite. David Njoku is the kryptonite for a touchdown score bettor. I'm telling you, because he will bring you in every time at the plus 400 or more. And a lot of the time I could talk myself out of it because you're looking at snap counts. You look at Austin Hooper, you look at, Jarvis Landry or Odell Beckham when he was there. And you're just like, okay, he's like 6th on the depth chart of guys that are going to probably are likely to score. But
not anymore.
But he still manages to get production. Yeah. And now with both running backs out, D'Ernest Johnson and I think Janovich are probably going to be backing them up as well. He's now elevated to like 3rd, maybe even 4th, on the scoring likelihood, right? So to get him over plus 400, insane odds. I think obviously it's the matchup against the Patriots, but the Patriots defense, they haven't been they haven't been that sharp against tight ends this year. So again, I would definitely take a look at Njoku here.
Yep.
Okay, so those are 3 picks in for each of us. We're going for pick number 4, going with the Washington football team, Brenden. I'm going to be taking J.D. McKissic anytime touchdown. I got him at plus 350, and that's at Bet365. And the reason why I bet it at plus 350, even though I would still bet him at plus 250 at other books, this is strictly an odds play because he is plus 220 to plus 250 everywhere else. I'm just saying that I would still play him at plus 250, but the reason why I'm taking him at plus 350 is because obviously better odds. And because he hasn't been higher than plus 260, looking at our odds comparison tool at FTN Bets, he hasn't been higher than plus 260 odds since week 2 when he scored at plus 500 against the Giants. Now, here's what you need to know about J.D. McKissic and why I'm taking him. He is second on the team in targets, overall targets as a running back. But for all running backs in the NFL, he's 6th in running back receptions. He has more catches this year than Alvin Kamara, more catches than Aaron Jones. He has 20 catches in just his last 3 games. And pass-catching running backs tend to do better against the Bucs. If you look at the Bucs this season, 6 touchdowns allowed to running backs, 4 of them were by the pass, 2 of them by the rush. So automatically you're seeing that the screen game is working a little bit better against them. And then when you look at Tampa's defense, NFL receptions given up to running backs this year, they're 27th in the NFL. So again, the stigma out there is that the Bucs stop the run. Generally they do, but pass-catching backs tend to do better against them. So J.D. McKissic fills that role. And then, of course, the threat of Antonio Gibson. What do you do about that? Well, when you look at Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissic has outsnapped him in 4 of the last 5 games. And Gibson is still pretty hobbled from that shin injury. Mm-hmm. And if we're doing a trend alert, J.D. McKissic did score last year as an anytime touchdown scorer in the postseason against the Bucs in that playoff game. So, again, I would still play him at plus 250. But if you have access to Bet365 and you want to get it at plus 350, get on it with me.
The best hit of the year was that diving touchdown he had. You had him at plus 500, right? You remember he jumped from
that was against the Giants. It was a rushing. So that was week 4 against the Falcons. And he was probably around plus 300 around that range. The one that I got was in week 2 against the Giants when he got no work in week 1, and he was plus 300 in week 1, maybe plus 250. But then the books put him through the roof at plus 500 because they're like, oh, okay, so McKissic's not part of the offense anymore. And it's like, actually, no, that was just 1 week. Let's not overreact. And then he scored.
Yeah.
So
no, he's a good player. You said the Bucs have kind of struggled against receiving backs as well. I have the Buccaneers in my survivor pool, and I'm actually kind of worried. I'm starting to get a little stressed out about this pick. I think, I don't know, man. Like you said, that playoff game, like Heineke and McKissic, they played really well against the Buccaneers in the wild card game. So, yeah, but this is a really good look at these odds. I'm a big McKissic fan. I think you should be more involved in this offense week by week.
But I still, like I'm saying, if you see him at your book and he's plus 250, take the ride with me. I'd still bet him at plus 250. But again, if you have access to the other books and you have higher odds, obviously take that. So that is 4 picks down for me. Brenden, let's see your 4th pick of week 10.
All right, my 4th pick is your boy, Gilles, your boy Michael Gallup, plus 210 on the Dallas Cowboys. He is back healthy for the first time since week 1. And in that week 1 matchup, when he did play, he played 60% of the snaps. He was awesome. He left in the 3rd quarter, and he still played 60% of snaps. The Cowboys offense, like Mike McCarthy and why am I blanking on the offensive coordinator? Kellen Moore. They really like him, and they've been talking him up all week in the media. They're pumped to get him back. Cedric Wilson had a really rough game last week against the Broncos. A lot of missed routes. I think he had a bad drop. So I think they're looking to kind of get Gallup into that 3rd wide receiver role as soon as possible. Today's the day. And at plus 210, when I saw him over plus 200 odds, I thought it was a good look. And I think it's kind of maybe a big bounce back game for Dallas. I think they should take care of Atlanta. I know you're not feeling that way, but I'm feeling that way.
Well, no. Here's the deal. My issue with Gallup. So I think the world of Gallup. I wish that, like, in a way, that was why I didn't want to draft CeeDee Lamb when the draft picks were coming up, because I was like, we already have Cooper, we already have Gallup. We're just kind of tripling down on a strength. But obviously, I still think the world of CeeDee Lamb. But that, as a result, is what's going to push Michael Gallup out the door, because he's 5th, as far as I'm concerned, on priority list of scoring, and maybe 6th, depending on how you feel about
week 1, he was like number 1, right? Like he was the most targeted receiver on the Dallas Cowboys week 1. That's just game by game basis. Of course, that could change. But if you're looking at depth chart, you are right. Like you probably got CeeDee Lamb, Mark Cooper, Dalton Schultz probably goes ahead, Ezekiel Elliott. But I over plus 200 odds. He's a really good player. Like,
That's
he shouldn't be a number 30. You shouldn't be a number 3rd receiver on any team. The fact that Dallas is so freaking stacked at that position, he should be a number 2 or number 1 somewhere else. But and they like just the amount of hype he's been getting through the media, like Kellen Moore, like Mike McCarthy, have been like just pumping his tires all week. So I just think he's going to have a big role today.
Absolutely. And I think this is the one thing that I want to just kind of reiterate is that if you're getting it over plus 200, take it. Because again, in the Cowboys offense, most of the time when you look at sports books, most of those guys we just listed, you're not getting them better than plus 150 more often than not. So you're getting a very talented wide receiver in an offense that ranks in the top 10 in passing attempts. And you're playing against a defense that can be exposed by the wide receivers. So I think that's the key thing here. I think my biggest issue with Gallup is just more that when you look at other teams, like let's say we take like the top end offenses out and let's use like a middle of the pack team, like anyway, it doesn't matter. Just the point is that generally the 3rd wide receiver, you're getting them at plus 400 range, maybe plus 450. That's just the only thing that I would say is like usually when you play a wide receiver 3, you're getting them in that range. You know what I mean? But my thing is that if you're going to play any wide receiver 3, like Gallup obviously fits the description of being able to make an exception on that rule while also getting them over plus 200, which fits into my criteria of taking guys over plus 200 than as opposed to the less than plus 200. So I think that's the one thing that I would try to reiterate is I am the glass half empty Cowboys fan. And that's why generally I don't bet Cowboys players for touchdown scores because I got too much invested in just personally, like I just like it, and I get mad, like, you know, really like, and that's the thing with these bets, you can't get that kind of emotional swing when it comes to that because you're going to lose bets. And if you start going emotionally tailing like that and maybe emotionally chasing, that's how you lose all your money. Whereas from an Eagles fan perspective, yeah, you probably, you know what I mean? Fill your boots. It probably wouldn't change your emotion either way. You know what I mean? So,
fair enough.
All right. So that is our 4th pick. Now we're going to end it off here. This is my 5th pick of the week. And very familiar one of the show, Brenden. It's a Buffalo Bill. It's Dawson Knox, anytime touchdown at plus 240. Odds available at PointsBet. He's scored 4 straight weeks before busting his hand. I think we have to admit now, Dawson Knox is an elite tight end. He leads the Bills with 5 receiving touchdowns. And even though he missed 2 games and is still second on the team in red zone targets, he leads the team with 3 red zone touchdowns. The Jets defense, obviously no Star Latule today, so that might be a little bit of an issue, but from a Bills defense standpoint, but the Jets defense, they are pitiful. And tight ends, they've scored 4 touchdowns on them this season. But the Jets, they rank bottom 10 in passing yards, receptions, and targets to tight ends in 2021. And my biggest rule is that I swore if Dawson Knox is ever listed above plus 200 again, that he's an auto bet. And I think I have to reiterate as well, I'm a man of my word.
I couldn't get him at under 200 on FanDuel and DraftKings. He was the first guy I thought of. I traded for him in fantasy this week too. I think he's going to have a huge second half. I think he's been that missing piece in that Buffalo offense last few weeks. They've desperately needed him. The Bills had six drives last week go into Jacksonville territory and couldn't score a touchdown. He's that kind of guy that's missing from that formula. So I think he's going to be used early and often, and these are really, really, really good odds for him.
Well, and he's a good blocker too. They could have used him from blocking the edge, so that way there wasn't so much Josh Allen on Josh Allen crime kind of thing. Yeah. But I think that was the big thing that's been missing for them, just blocking, pass catching in the red zone. I think he scores this week at plus 240 at PointsBet. I'm betting that every time.
Yep.
So that's my 5th pick. Brenden, conclude the show. What do you got for your 5th pick?
I'm taking us home with a Philadelphia Eagle. I've had some luck taking my team here, so I'm going to stick with it. Really, 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 really like this pick. I'm going Quez Watkins plus 380. Ooh. Those odds are available at FanDuel. Look, he played 96% of snaps last week, which was a record for him. He was on the field constantly. The Eagles are starting to run with this 13 personnel set, and Quez Watkins is the wide receiver on that 13 personnel set. So he's going to be on the field a lot, and I just have this vision. I have this vision of a 13 personnel or a heavy personnel set with a play action pass and a deep shot to Quez Watkins. The Denver Broncos have allowed the 4th most receptions of 20-plus yards this year. Quez Watkins is the fastest guy on the field in any football game. When he's on the field, he's the fastest guy on the field. I really, really like this pick. He's due for a breaker game. I know I hate that word due. I know me and you have talked about this before. It's not something that we should be convincing people to use and to convince people to use when they're wagering money. This is a really, really good matchup for him. And at the base, he's basically the not number one wide receiver Devonta Smith is, but he's the number one used wide receiver on the team. Like 96% of snaps, he doesn't leave the field. This is again a really good matchup for him. He's going to burn Ronald Darby for a deep touchdown today. Book it.
Now, I know you tweeted this out earlier in the week, and there's not many people that I trust to give me proper feedback on where the Eagles are and, what would be kind of standing out. So I think if anybody is a good judge of that, it would be yourself. So I think people should really keep that in mind. We're going to get going here in a minute. A couple of questions in the chat, and I figured we should kind of address those before we get going. People are asking about a toss-up between Ramondre Stevenson or Brenden Bolden with Damian Harris out today. Personally, I would take Stevenson if you can get him. Now, the issue with taking Patriots running backs is it's always been a little bit more of a crapshoot of who's going to be able to excel. Personally, I would look at Brenden Bolden as well because you know that he's going to be taking on more of the James White role, maybe even a J.J. Taylor as well. Personally, I'm not a huge Ramondre Stevenson fan, especially if you're getting him at less than plus 200. I would be looking at Brenden Bolden, who's going to be more out there for the pass catching role, and then as well as J.J. Taylor. But Brenden, what do you think of those two?
I would go Stevenson as well. He's a bigger body guy. He's a rookie. I think this is kind of the time where Belichick's and Josh McDaniels are going to start using him. There's an injury there. This is the perfect time to see what he's got. I think he's going to be used a lot in the red zone. Do you want to read out all of our picks before we go to? We got someone in the chat asking about just to relay our picks.
Yeah, again. So I'll read these back to us before we get going. So my picks this week, we did Taysom Hill at plus 330, Alan Lazard at plus 340. I have Noah Fant at plus 275. Brenden has Khalif Raymond at plus 360. I've got Freddie Swaim at plus 500. Brenden has David Njoku at plus 480. I've got JD McKissick at plus 350. He has got Michael Gallup at plus 210. And the final two picks that we have are Dawson Knox at plus 240 and Kez Watkins at plus 380. So those are our touchdown score picks for week 10. 5 picks from me, 5 picks from Brenden. We'll see you next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And I've got touchdown score picks coming out later today for Sunday Night Football. Make sure to check out those and head over to FTN Bets to check out all of our betting content for touchdown scores and awesome betting advice for week 10. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at GDog5000. Follow him on Twitter as well, Brenden Deeg at Brenden Deeg NFP. I want to thank you all for watching Touchdown Town for Week 10. I'm Gilles Gallant with BetsTV. Bon chance.